Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. We're happy to have you with us today as we tackle a subject that has recently grown very near and dear to mine and Potato's hearts. I'm Brady the Overanalyst, your host, one of your hosts for today, and joined as always by our good friends Martina or Seth the Overwitch on Twitch and associated platforms,
Yo.
and Mate or Comrade Potato on Twitch.
Howdy.
And today I would like to speak with you all about one of those common experiences that I'm sure we all shared as children. In a world of mass media that sells various wonderful fantasies to us through the lens of fiction, I can only imagine how many of us spent our afternoons or evenings as children consuming sci-fi comic books or video games, television series, films, and wondering how exciting it would be, how beautiful an experience it would be to actually go into the cold reaches of space, to see the kinds of fantastical futures and technologies we would see depicted in this media brought to life. And those dreams, those fantasies, have nurtured an entire generation, several generations really, to dream and to live in the light of wonder. And if Chris Roberts and Cloud Imperium Games have their way, those dreams will be all we have. We're analyzing Star Citizen. Welcome to the program.
How long have you worked on that intro?
About 30 seconds.
Okay, great. More than they're working on Star Citizen.
Absolutely. So Tina, how much do you know about the Star Citizen project or the people behind it?
So, to be honest, I was never into sci-fi stuff. I was more of a fantasy girl. But
Right.
You and Mate have told me so much about Star Citizen that I feel now I have been part of the journey since the start. But I've never personally followed the development or lack thereof. And I'm not excited to see it or not to see it. So I'm like your neutral average gamer that knows nothing about it. So educate me, please.
Of course. Now, to be fair, a disclaimer, I am not the most knowledgeable person about this particular topic. I think Mate, who is not present with us in the recording right now, he'll join us in a minute, is far and away the most knowledgeable about this genre. But
I think he was following the most, yeah.
Yeah. Star Citizen is probably the most high-profile space trading and combat simulator to hit the periphery of the market in probably the past 10 to 15 years. Now, I think it's important we acknowledge, before we dig into the history, because I have cobbled together, with the aid of our good friends Wikipedia and like assorted gaming journalism sites, a general history of the game's chief designer and kind of the lineage of mechanics and aesthetics that Star Citizen bears on its shoulders. It's important we acknowledge the space we're in, because at least I remember, Tina, when I was young, so when we would have been kids, space sims, along with simulator games in general, I'm thinking flight simulators, really quote-unquote realistic warfare simulators, those types of chiefly computer games, were kind of, I don't want to say entirely irrelevant, but nowhere near as popular as they had been in the 90s.
Oh, definitely.
And as we went on into the 2010s, we start to see kind of a resurgence in interest, not just among PC players, who were the original audience for so many of these games, but among console audiences for these types of games, right?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I just remember a couple of years ago, everyone was obsessed with Euro Truck Simulator or something like that. It was just crazy. Like, you're driving a truck through Europe. Good job.
Right, no, there's an entire genre now of just trucking simulators. And it's not like you manage the business or what have you, you just drive the truck.
Yeah, you do the exciting thing, driving the truck.
No, of course. But yeah, people are interested in these simulator games. People are interested in experiences that provide I guess sometimes regardless of the experience itself, like I'm thinking about the trucking games again, an
Mm-hmm.
immersive, mechanically rich, and reactive experience for them. Where, the joy is in the complexity of the systems. Like there's so much to learn and see and do. But we start to see a resurgence in interest in these specifically sci-fi trading and combat sims, I want to say in the early
Mm-hmm.
2010s. We have
I
Star
think,
Citizen. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, for me, that makes a bit more sense. I mean, not everyone can go into space, while mostly everyone can learn how to drive a truck. So, yeah.
I mean, I would refer to our Drugs Bunny stories, but yes, most everyone.
Most everyone.
Um, but in the 2010s, we start to see kind of a resurgence in interest in these types of games where the focus may not be so much on like the central narrative or like really tight level design or what have you, like a Mass Effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's a big sci fi story, but
Yeah.
just placing the player in an immersive world where the emphasis isn't so much on role playing, it's not so much on character development or any of that. It's just experiencing and enjoying a universe that feels alive and like it's moving around you. We had the extreme popularity and continued popularity of the once small MMO Eve Online, which to me really typifies kind of the popularity of this type of game. Because I don't know if you've ever seen footage of Eve, Tina, but it is one of the most obtuse MMOs I've ever seen.
Like, honestly, that is one MMO that I'm never gonna play because I'm genuinely not interested, but it's very much alive to this day, so
Yeah,
they're doing something right.
no, and it's fascinating. For context, it's a game largely based around developing internet like interstellar corporations like as
Mm-hmm.
a player and then using your funds and while directly managing your business ventures, sometimes going out to little asteroids and mining them yourself. Using your funds to assemble like these massive corporate states. And players have actually gotten so immersed in this world that they have created fully functioning states inside the game, like kingdoms and empires and what have you. They've gone to war. People have committed fraud for like actual money due to microtransactions in the game.
Wow.
Uh, there's like well documented stories of acts of corporate espionage in game that were like months in the making. People infiltrating other players' guilds, posing as like a low tier worker or applicant, and then just
Wow.
waiting until they get enough permissions to like pilot a big old ship and just take off with it.
Wow, incredible. That basically means that some people are more competent in running a country than Trump was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The great thing about Eve though is it offered so much mechanical sophistication, right? That
Mm-hmm.
players were able to do all of this and unlike say a Fallout 76 or something like that, they were actually able to create their own fun and continue to do so to this day. I think about No Man's Sky, which is another game in this genre, although far more casual in its presentation. Um, People were so excited, I remember at launch, and only at launch, for the concept of just being able to explore a wide open, varied universe where you never know what's going to be, through the next jump gate.
Yeah.
And I think just that sense of exploration and wonder and discovering what all you can do in this setting is something that makes the broad genre of sci fi simulators really appealing, right?
Mm-hmm. I would say so, yeah.
But, oh, there's also Elite Dangerous, I should mention, which was a
Oh yeah, of
crowd-funded
course.
game that
Mm.
released, what was it, Tina? Probably about 5, 6 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
And, has been wildly popular since launch. I've not heard too many pointedly negative things said about Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, and basically whenever the gamers' interest in the game wanes, they release some sort of update that brings it back um, from the dead, I would say. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's doing pretty
definitely.
well for itself.
And I'm so happy to see that, even though I can't play the game to save my life. Um, that this is all to say, the market and the interest for a product like Star Citizen absolutely exists. Star Citizen is the crowd-funded brainchild of famed video game director Chris Roberts, who made his name in the 90s working on several projects we'll discuss in just a moment, and his startup studio, Cloud Imperium Games. Roberts' vision is, well, extraordinary, if only just extraordinary. Um, he conceives of a completely immersive, integrated world where players can pilot a starcraft around scores of planets, like loads and loads of systems. It sounds practically No Man's Sky in scale. And in addition to simple trading and engaging in diplomacy with the different factions, like the different human factions, and then these alien factions we know next to nothing about because they've barely been implemented, even in the lore, you can engage in rollicking space-borne dogfights. You can get out of your spacecraft and explore fully developed port cities and
Oh
planet
my god.
surfaces. Oh my god, it sounds so cool, right?
Like, oh my god, Brady. So, did people go crazy about the game when it launched? Because I haven't heard anything.
No, no. When the crowdfunding campaign launched, people went insane. Because you see, it's not just the concept that this is going to be such a wonderful immersive experience, it's also that Chris Roberts was helming it up. And Roberts, for those of you who don't know, is one of the like rock star designers who really made his
Uh,
name on projects in the 90s, like a John Romero or a John Carmack.
wait. Rockstar as in company Rockstar, or just he was
No,
a
sorry,
rockstar?
sorry. I mean like
Okay.
a rockstar, like a celebrity designer.
Ah, right.
Very well regarded. Think the Johns, Romero and Carmack, or Peter Molyneux, who's probably the
Right.
best comparison.
Mm-hmm.
People like that. Back in the
Mm-hmm.
90s when creatives, right, instead of like economically minded executives, were often the face of dev teams, which is not
Right.
something you see very often anymore, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, he was one of the minds, I think the chief mind behind, let's have a look see. Just want to make sure I get all this right. Um the Star Lancer series, I want to say Star Lancer, and he might have been involved with maybe Wing Commander. Let me see. Sorry, I'm having to consult my notes, of which there are many. Um but he
You actually
developed,
did research.
and by research I mean I'm skimming around a few articles online. Yeah, no. He created the Wing Commander series of extremely highly regarded like space combat
Mm-hmm.
sims back in the 90s, as well as something called, I believe, Star Lancer and then Freelancer. Um, Creative, I know.
Yeah, I was gonna say was the last one, in the world of game development, being the freelancer.
His games were noted for having multiple branching paths and having player choice that really mattered, player choice and performance that mattered when it came
Mm-hmm.
to determining how the plot unfolded, what missions you would be shunted to next. And these games collectively, along with fairly well developed, if somewhat standard sci fi lore, set Roberts and his team, then I believe at the time of Freelancer's release, Digital Anvil, apart as really exceptional designers, exceptional creatives during this time. Um, but then we get to Freelancer, which to me is a microcosm of the entire Star Citizen story. Let me see if my good old friend Wikipedia has the dates for me.
Oh, not Wikipedia, man. Bad, Brady. Bad, Brady.
Hey,
Welcome
we're
back from the
talking about,
store, potato.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I really had to.
no
No,
worries. We're
no
talking
worries.
about a bad game, so I
Wait,
figured
are you
bad
saying
sources would be good.
Freelancer is a bad game?
Its development, yeah. If Chris Roberts got his way, it never would have been released.
Okay, that's fine, but the game was good. The
No,
game was
I've heard that. I've heard what we got was ultimately pretty solid. But let me see. Da-da-da-da-da. Freelancer, right? Okay, so Freelancer does have a single player campaign, but the principal like goal from a design perspective was to create this. This is gonna sound familiar. Massive, sprawling, open, explorable galaxy where you can travel, trade, and do combat with multiple different factions inside of this massive like living world. And keep in mind, this was a game that was released in early 2003,
Oh
so
wow.
that's pretty damn ambitious for the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Roberts wanted to do even more. The issue is, or the issue was, Freelancer used extremely advanced technology for the time, which made development somewhat cumbersome, and the intended scope and scale of the game was, well, massive. Add to this the fact that, as far as I can tell, looking through the different sources I've consulted over the past week, Chris Roberts, while a fairly nice guy, is a fastidious, relentless micromanager, like a perfectionist, and will not put the rubber to the road and like release a product unless it perfectly matches his vision, which has an unfortunate tendency to constantly expand. So,
Well, you know how people say only sky is the limit. That might be a bit problematic when you make a space game.
oh yeah, definitely. Because see, Freelancer consistently failed to meet production benchmarks. They didn't get more or less anything of substance done on time. Because originally it was announced to have a 2.5 year dev schedule. I want to say in 1997. And remember, this was a game released in 2003. Um, and well, because Roberts didn't really have a set vision as to what they would achieve concretely and then launch the game, it just kept spiraling with more and more features and technologies and additions to the project until, well, Digital Anvil effectively ran out of money. Ran out of money and they ran out of time. Um, and Microsoft had to swoop in, buy the company, and directly oversee production and release. Because the guy at the helm and his team, to be fair, could not meet like the internal guidelines that they had set for themselves by a wide margin. And I mean, there's
Right.
always wiggle room in game development, right? It's something
Hmm.
highly unpredictable. Challenges can arise completely unexpectedly. But what I want to establish with the freelancer story, and again, as Matai said, the final product was received quite well, despite not being what Chris Roberts wanted to make. He wanted to do so much more. Um, is that Chris Roberts and like his associated staff are not the world's greatest project managers. We've talked on this podcast a lot about the pitfalls of having publishers and business types driving development, right? Where they give orders to developers to compromise the integrity or the quality of their product in order to incentivize monetization or things like that. But with Freelancer and Star Citizen, I think we get a good depiction of the inverse of that. What happens when really ambitious and creative and talented developers just don't have enough, I guess, help or guidance actually releasing a product? So, that's Freelancer. A good game that wouldn't have been a game if somebody else didn't come slap the controls out of the developer's hands and say, no, we need to make a game. This would foreshadow Star Citizen, which was announced and a crowdfunding campaign for it launched in 2010. The game initially, I believe, was announced to have roughly a 4, maybe 5 year dev cycle. It is now 2021. Um, and Robert's plan was quite simple. There were going to be so many components of this living, breathing world, right? Being able to explore outside of your starship, in your starship, engage in trading and commerce, space combat, that really he wanted to deliver this content in a modular fashion, meaning certain chunks of the game would be released to backers or maybe even the general public as they were completed to demonstrate that not only the dev team was doing work, but to give people an idea of what they could expect from the feel and systems of the final game. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think for a crowdfunding campaign, that isn't a terrible idea at all.
No, that sounds pretty doable.
And it lets backers and other people too get their hands on the game and offer more like constructive feedback, right? So instead
Yeah.
of having to provide a vertical slice of the whole game, you can say, "Hey, we're really working hard on our space combat systems right now. Here's a short like skirmish mode demo that you guys can play and give us feedback on. How's it looking? How's it feeling?" That's
I
great.
mean, basically what they wanted to do is what people now are doing with early access. You play
Yes,
the game like that is partially done, and as you go you give them feedback, and then they develop it before the release, which is,
absolutely.
I'm not a big fan of early access, but it does work.
But it's bullshit. Like, early
You did
access
not
is
hear her.
basically. Oh, hi, early access. No, but like, we are now paying. Most people are paying to get to play an unfinished game. Not to get to play, to test it for the devs.
Full price often too
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
paying.
Yes, and like, call me old fashioned, but in my time, uh, if
Rock and
you got
mortar.
chosen to beta test the game, either A, it was a privilege, or B, you got paid for it. Like, oh, please test our game so we can make a better product. And now
Yeah.
it's pay us money so you can test our game and maybe we'll fix some of that shit that you find.
Yeah. So basically, this would be an amazing system if you did not have to pay the full price. Like your price would be to have the game half off or something before it even is
Yeah.
finished.
And to be fair, some devs, like some really like upstanding devs, do that. They'll like offer early access for like half price or sometimes even like a quarter of the final price.
Yeah, there's a couple of games that did like super cheap early access, and as the game gets more and more finished, they just up the price until it gets fully released
Yeah,
for a full
until
price.
it actually deserves the price.
Yeah, and I'm sort of okay with that. Like you get it cheaper, so you kind of do get something for you testing the game for them.
Yeah. Yeah,
But it's
that's
still kind of a bullshit.
no doubt. It's more moral, it's still not ideal. Because normally, in at least in the olden days, you would have this department called QA, quality assurance, and these poor unsung heroes of game development, probably the single most underappreciated facet of most dev teams, were a bunch of generally underpaid people who you paid to play your broken ass game for you. Um, Anyhow, Star Citizen was going to have that modular release system, and unlike almost everything else that was promised, they've actually followed through on that. I want you to know some numbers really quickly. Star Citizen's initial Kickstarter campaign. Oh, sorry, it was not announced in 2012. Pre-production began in 2010, and the game was announced in. Sorry, the game was not announced in 2010. It started pre-prod in 2010, and it was formally announced in 2012 with the Kickstarter. Anyhow, the Kickstarter at first drew in over $2 million in funding because, well, people were really excited to see one of the godfathers of the immersive sim genre coming back with an ambitious new project. And the crowdfunding as of date is well over 300 million US dollars. And they've also got external investment, having received just over $63 million. That is an expensive ass game.
That is a lot
Wait,
of bling blings.
do you know the total, Brady, of all the funds they raised?
I don't see concrete totals here.
$353,909,606.
Uh,
Yeah.
They
that's a
have it
big
on their
number.
own website.
Oh, they're
Jesus, they're
proud of
proud
it.
of that.
The approximate, I'm guessing that's what the Star Citizen statistic means. Like the number of Star Citizens, I guess how many people back them.
Right?
3,054,332.
They have more players than a game that's actually released.
Yes.
They have more budget than several like fully released good games.
Pretty sure they have more budget than my friggin' university does. Um, okay. Now, really quickly, gonna give you a rundown of the modules that have been released, okay? Okay. First, they released the Hangar module. This was a very simple, basically, it's a test map where you could walk around on foot and explore and marvel at the ships that you paid exorbitant amounts of actual money for. Oh, wait, I forgot something. The ships. Right. So in Star Citizen, you have access to a wide variety of admittedly very attractively designed spacecraft with specialized functions, some being intended for trading, some being intended for hauling, some being intended for combat, and all being intended to suck the life out of your wallet. Because most ships, with a couple exceptions, I believe, are most easily accessible by donating to the Star Citizen uh, funding project. And Mate got some figures for us during like one of my streams. The prices of some of these ships, which come obviously with like a digital copy of the game for whatever that's worth, are absurd, right?
No, like as far as I understand it, like your access to the game, that's free. They don't charge you,
Yeah.
kind of
Okay.
don't charge you for that. What they do charge you is your ship. You need a ship to fly.
Right.
And I guess you can't without at least having one ship. I guess they won't let you be on someone else's crew without your own ship. But yeah, it kind of like any game start package you buy for it, you'll get a ship and some insurance because you also need to have your ship insured.
Yes. Which you
Of
have to
course.
pay real money for.
Yes, and it's not like Elite Dangerous where you have insurance for your ship, and if it's destroyed, you just pay a set amount and you get it back. No, that shit expires.
Yep.
Oh,
And
why?
get this. Once you file an insurance claim on the digital fantasy spaceship that blew up, which I still can't get over, once you file an insurance claim, you have to wait for the replacement ship to be delivered to you. Immersion!
No, I'm
Yeah.
fine with it if you can do stuff like insurance fraud.
Oh
Well,
god.
I mean, we can't, but look at the crowdfunding.
Oh yeah, but like one of the stretch goals for the crowdfunding campaign was, if they accomplish $2 million, what you'll get is regular community updates. Yeah, that's something you need
Yes.
to earn. Well,
No,
technically
like,
Oh,
buy.
yeah.
oh, dear sweet lord. Hold on, we'll get right around to that. But just really quickly to give the devil his due here, they advertised a like quick little skirmish dogfighting mode called Arena Commander, which has been announced, or not just announced, it has been released quite early on. Like it's a simple little like kind of wave survival or um team combat thing. And apparently it is just that, like, hey, skirmishing in spaceships that you probably paid a lot for and can't got to make sure you don't lose, otherwise you'll have to file an insurance claim. Um, Star Marine, a ground combat simulator, which is basically a shit first-person shooter, that currently on release had two maps, or no, sorry, two maps and two game types. It is like Halo, basically, but worse. But it has been released. It is available.
I like it how our bar for success with this game is it has been released.
It exists.
It
Yeah.
exists, yes.
Um. Then there's the campaign. Oh dear sweet lord.
Which is a separate game.
Not at first.
No, not at first. At first, it was like you get those two as a package for a singular price of the game,
Yes.
and then sometimes I think like 2016. Like, don't quote me on that. They decided to split them up, even though they said they wouldn't do that.
That sounds right. Now, just for context, Squadron 42 is the name of the theoretical Star Citizen single player campaign. And at launch, it was going to feature a rich, immersive story featuring a voice cast comprised of sci-fi legends, including Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson, John Rhys Davies, and Henry Cavill. There we go. Gary Oldman, so like a really top-notch voice cast, right?
Yeah.
Star-studded, really.
A lot of big names.
Also, a lot of very expensive names.
Yeah.
Um, and it was going to like be this story-driven, intense experience in the vein of Chris Roberts' old school campaigns, think Wing Commander and things like that. It was going to be long too. It was going to be released in an episodic format because they could just never give you something. With episode 1 containing 70 missions and around 20 hours worth of gameplay. There's 2 other episodes we know like nothing about, and it was to be released as a component of the main Star Citizen game or client. And the idea was taking certain actions in Squadron 42 or meeting certain milestones would not just teach the player the systems and world of the game very gradually in like this immersive tutorializing process, but it would
Hmm.
also give them certain benefits or rewards that they could use out in the main game, which I think is
Right.
really cool.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
No, not at all. Um, See, here's the thing though. Like Mate said, we didn't hear much of anything about Squadron 42 after it was announced. It was announced for release. Get this: the single-player campaign. Hell, at this point, episode 1 of 3 of the single-player campaign was announced for release in 2014. Now, I want to make it perfectly clear because I don't like being harsh on devs. 98% of the people at Cloud Imperium Games, I've seen testimonials from them, I've seen like interviews. They seem like sweet people with the best of intentions, extremely talented, trying to do the best with the hand they're dealt by management, which is like with CDPR, dominant and overbearing and omnipresent, and that kind of restricts them. But this is not a case of a game being announced too early. Like we've seen that several times
It's been
recently, right?
announced too early.
Cyberpunk, for instance, was announced like years before proper work began on it, right? Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced the second pre-prod began, which meant there were these lengthy spans of time between an audience finding out about a new game and getting excited about it, and then any demonstrable product of the game's development being available for consumption in the forms of trailers or media conferences or what have you. That is not the case for Star Citizen. Because this one component, the single player campaign, was announced for release in 2014. Like, Roberts believed, yeah, we've got this. And then you don't hear anything, it gets delayed, it gets delayed, it gets delayed. Usually, and Mate, correct me if I'm wrong, with very vague or absolutely no reasoning beyond, well, we want to give you the best experience we possibly can, so
Yeah, we want
yeah,
to make it good.
Yeah, they didn't explain much about any of the delays
no.
or stuff that was happening.
Now, in 2019, they announced that a beta would be available sometime last year. Then it got pushed back by a quarter. Then, nothing. But get this, from the article I'm reading. In December 2020, Roberts announced there will be no official release date or gameplay footage at this time. Quote, I have decided that it is best to not show Squadron 42 gameplay publicly, nor discuss any release date until we are closer to the home stretch and have high confidence in the remaining time needed to finish the game to the quality we want. Dude,
Oh,
it's been 7 years. No.
but not just that. Like consider this: it's being developed by a different studio called
Yes.
Foundry 42, which is under the supervision of Chris Roberts' brother,
Yep.
Aaron.
No, so
Oh,
this is the
great.
issue. As far as I'm aware, and I don't mean to insinuate anything about them personally here, just like as actors in like a professional space. Chris Roberts, his I think wife or partner, and his brother head up combined virtually every single aspect of Star Citizen and Squadron 42's design, right? Like they directly oversee it. Along with Robert's partner and donor, I believe his name is Ortwin Fundermeyer, maybe? Hold on, I want to make sure I get this right. A German American attorney who has provided a lot of support for the game and also acts as Cloud Imperium Games principal counsel. Ortwin Fryermuth. And here's kind of the issue with that. Based on everything I've heard, documentaries I've watched, articles I've read, everything I've been exposed to about Star Citizen, the biggest problem, like remember, one aspect of the game was announced for release, not like to be exhibited, not for a demo to be released. It was going to be done 7 years ago. Is Chris Roberts and his associates are that fastidious, are that kind of mired by a combination of ambition and ruthless perfectionism. Like, Mate, have you seen anything to this effect? Because I have. They just keep going back to the drawing board again and again and saying, but wait, what if we add this to the campaign? What if the persistent universe could also do this? Dev teams, make it happen. Also, this one little detail doesn't look or feel quite right, so back to the drawing board on that for like weeks.
I
That's what
also
I've heard.
I also feel like it's a part of we want the game to have all of this stuff, so let's make it all at once instead of like, well, let's build one star system and some ships, and then let's build around that.
Oh,
Give
they
them
built the
something.
ships because they've got to sell you the ships
Well, not
for like
all of them.
over
They
a
have a
thousand
lot of
dollars.
ships in the store that aren't buyable. Like, if they're not flyable, you can't buy them. Like, as far as I've seen, they're not selling you the concept of a ship just
No,
yet. Uh, they are, however, charging like $400 for certain ships, and that's like,
uh
and for
why?
special variants of certain ships, which would like give you features like additional storage space or cup holders or a new paint job, it would be considerably more than $400, right?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff you can do, but I'm just wondering. Like, I haven't played the game, so I don't know. Uh, can you get that same ship by working hard in the game and not spending $400
If
on
I
it?
had to guess, and
I'm
I'm sorry
guessing
to say
no.
I don't know, I would imagine for like the special variants they're really upcharging for, no. And for everything else, they will drip feed you a relatively inconsequential currency that if you grind and grind for days or weeks on end, you can use to buy a decent ship.
yeah, I
Like a
would
lot of
agree.
F2P games. Ah, here we go. Let's see. Oh, totally forgot this. The final game will use one specific currency. The early access version uses a different currency, and that currency is just occasionally reset
Oh, sure.
for balancing, I guess. Okay. Oh no, Mate, it says here ships can be purchased with real world funds or at in game kiosks with earned credits.
Okay,
Oh, you can
I'm
also
fine with
pay.
that.
I don't know what the difference is though. Like, is this $500 ship going to take me months of gameplay to purchase with credits? That's what I'm afraid of. Um, Also, you can pay to rent a ship. You can pay real money to rent a ship.
Apparently, you can also steal them in game.
Oh, that's gonna go great.
Oh, that's where the insurance comes in handy, I guess. But like, from what they've said, is you'll be able to like steal a ship, but every ship has like a digitally assigned owner, so you would have to spend some in-game money to wipe the ID of the current owner, so that you
Oh
can.
my god, so you can be a good criminal.
I can't you just already see Cloud Imperium like secretly hiring a group of in-game pirates to go around jacking like the most lucrative ships over and over again?
No, but just as soon as their insurance expires.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, of course.
Let's see. What else? What else? What else? Oh, right. So we've talked about the campaign and kind of where it's at or not at, but the main module of the game, the big thing that people were promised was the persistent universe, which would combine starship travel and combat, commerce, exterior exploration, and first person, like, I guess, combat and maneuvering on foot around like spaceports and on the surfaces of planets. And it's starting to sound a lot like Mass Effect Andromeda early in development, which is really bad. Um, it has been what most people are really looking forward to, right? Being able to place themselves in this immersive, very kind of vital thriving space, like what Freelancer provided. And at date, I want to say one or a handful of star systems actually are available in part, Mate, but the overwhelming majority, like 98% of the content, is not.
Yeah, like I think one of the stretch goals was, I think that was the highest amount of star systems that they promised, which they reached, of course. Was
Sure.
the game will launch with 100 star systems.
Yikes.
Oh.
Yikes! Forever, because that's
Yikes,
how
it's
long it's gonna
taking
take for
forever.
it to release.
Yeah.
But listen to this. I'm reading some of the frequently asked questions and answers.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Somebody asked, "Do we know if the criminality system will be based on witnesses? So if somebody steals my ship without someone seeing him, will it have an effect on his reputation? And will I be able to claim insurance?"
Oh my god.
And somebody answered him, "Here's what we know from dev comments. Crimes can be reported when in comm beacon range. It's possible to get away with crimes. And then when an insurance claim is made, a mission will be generated to retrieve the claimant's black box. Also, insurance mechanics will try to punish players who destroy their own ships."
Oh my god.
Wait, so I accidentally crashed my ship into an asteroid and they're charging me with tax fraud?
Yes.
There
Insurance
goes your
fraud?
premium just through the roof.
Oh no! How am I gonna
Yikes.
be able to afford my space garbage truck now?
Well, like if I can make my own insurance company in the game and be a piece of shit,
Yeah!
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, the three of us just like pool our money to buy like a destroyer or something and go around like enforcing loans and insurance
Nice.
contracts.
But for real money. We
Yeah,
can become rich.
we could be Star Citizen pirates, Star Corsairs. Um,
Yarg.
okay. So we talked about the roadmap, right? I am now reading through, and I'm going to just kind of walk you guys through some of the highlights. A fairly well detailed compilation of Star Citizen and Cloud Imperium's major controversies, as compiled by the folks over at denofgeek.com. So we talked about the roadmap, right? Here's a quote from Chris Roberts regarding Star Citizen's lack of a traditional development roadmap. When we first embarked on this roadmap journey 2 years ago, our goal was to make communication more transparent, specific, and insightful for all of you who help make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. While this goal remains unchanged, we found that the format in which we've attempted to visualize our progress linearly does not match the approach we're taking in the development of Squadron 42.
Yay.
So, what the hell are you doing?
Basically, they're saying,
Take the
you,
money.
you remember how we promised that we're gonna show you what we're doing? Yeah, we're not gonna.
No, because I would assume we're not doing much of anything, is probably the answer.
Yeah, we don't know how to show you what we're doing because everything is just concept work.
Right, and here's the thing. I will say, Cloud Imperium Games has spent an enormous amount of time, money, and effort, probably too much of all three, producing various video series for YouTube and other platforms where individuals from the dev team, at least early on, would show you what they were working on. I watched a few of these little mini documentaries, and they are genuinely fascinating, and the personnel who hosted them seem like delightful human beings. A personal favorite of mine was this series where, using the interactive, like 3D galaxy map that's available online, because of course it is, the lore masters, like the chief setting writers and designers, would walk players through the backstory and kind of the culture and history of different areas of what would end up being the in-game universe. That to me is really cool. And they were like these little, I want to say 20 to 40 minute segments. I think maybe called Around the Verse. They're fascinating. And my favorite thing I've seen associated with Star Citizen. But they spend all that time just telling people, hey, look at what we're doing things, and they've hardly ever provided a concrete, or leadership has hardly ever provided a concrete vision of, here's the milestones we want to meet, here's when the finished product is going to be released. I don't think Robert's excuse holds up in my mind, because a roadmap doesn't have to be highly specific. It just has to let people know, here are the benchmarks we're aiming for, however conceived. Let's see. Squadron 42 missed its missed its release date by about 7 years. Yeah, that sounds right.
Oh, we're gonna be a little bit late. How much time do you need? More than 7 years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
imagine one of my students telling me that. Or,
I imagine me telling that to my bosses, like,
yeah,
yeah, the next patch is not gonna come out until, well, 2030.
hey, I mean, you could get a job at CDPR with that. Um,
Yeah.
okay, quoting the article again, because this is, I think, extremely important. Quoting directly. Numerous people close to Star Citizen development process over the years have shared stories regarding what could certainly be described as a toxic work environment. Some of the earliest examples of these claims could be found in a 2015 article published on The Escapist, in which unnamed Cloud Imperium Games employees shared horror stories about the company's culture. Along with general concerns regarding the project's management, some employees talked about specific times they were harassed by executive team members. Many of these claims focused on Chris Roberts and Sandy Gardner, who'd not only reportedly used slurs to insult employees, but allegedly even argued against potential hires on the basis of their race. A recent report also suggested that Star Citizen team members were asked to continue working during the recent snowstorms that hit Texas and left many employees without power and heat. Some employees claimed that they were even initially informed that failing to work during that time could force them to use vacation days. It's
Yikes.
important that last bit has been all but confirmed about like handling of the COVID pandemic and
Mm-hmm.
Texas snowstorm concurrently. It's
Mm-hmm.
important to
So
note
that's recent. Yeah.
that the former is still largely alleged, and Roberts and friends sued the escapist over the article,
Ha!
or wanted to. I think either they did or they wanted to. But I am I am inclined, as I usually am, to believe, almost always am, to believe the people who had the courage to come forth with these statements about
Yeah.
the environment that they were forced to work in, the
Exactly. I mean, it's not
unprofessionalism.
really something that you can get away with if you lied about, right?
No,
So
and these people, you can only imagine, right? You're working in this nightmare factory, trying to release a game that should have been out, what, at the whole thing, probably at the very least, not just Squadron 42, but the universe, maybe 4 or 5 years ago,
yikes
and
forever.
leadership isn't taking care of you, and in some cases, if based off of what I'm reading, is actively antagonistic towards you. That's awful, and there's absolutely no space for it in the video game industry or indeed anywhere in society. Um, like with CDPR, I don't know about you guys, but like my heart weeps for the poor people, the rank and file, who are having to make this thing. And it's
Yeah, that
important too.
cannot be a good environment for like working.
Right. And it's important too, I think, to temper my own commentary. Just I'm sure our audience gets it, but in case like you just need clarification. The people working to make this game a reality, the people working their asses off, the people forced to work during a snowstorm and a pandemic with their power out, some of them, they are not the same people who inserted a microtransaction laden, pay to win, Starship insurance oriented system into the game's model. They're not doing any of the things that we've or that I take issue with, that we take issue with. They're the poor people whose job it is to go in every day, and I'm sure, like was the case with Cyberpunk, knowing that they were having to make a bad product or a lackluster product or an abusive, harmful product, having to toe the line and do it because that's how they put food on the table. So to everybody at Cloud Imperium, like working in the trenches, if you guys somehow find this episode, just thank you for everything you're doing and for lending your talent and your creativity to the world. We see you. Let's see. Microtransaction claims. Let's see. Da-da-da-da. Oh, some Star Citizenships can cost over $1,000.
Yay! Money.
Microtransactions.
Mega transactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Macro transactions.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. Sorry, I'm gonna have to quote the article again because some of the ways in which they integrate Robert's quotes are just amazing. Listen to this. Fans raised concerns regarding the idea of Star Citizen becoming pay to win. These concerns gained steam in 2018, when the game still wasn't out, when Star Citizen announced that they had removed the in game currency cap. Chris Roberts noted this wasn't an example of pay to win, as there is no specific win state, and that you, quote, win by having fun.
So pay more, have more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just buy a
Oh yeah.
$1,500
Let's
ship
see. There was a
with
Forbes
bunch
article
of
published in
credits,
2019
deck
that
it out
extensively
into
addressed
all,
the
like,
money
laser
mismanagement
turrets
of
and
the
missiles,
team's resources.
and then just have fun by
Uh,
destroying all the living
Yeah, there we
rooms
go.
and
One
just
source
pay
said
for the
Roberts was
starter
obsessed
pack.
with micromanagement and
Fun.
continuously starting new ideas before old ones were
Wicked.
finished. Now, Mate, you're
Typical
more familiar with
manager.
this genre and indeed with this person than I am, but that sounds like Chris Roberts to me, right?
Potato. Oh, it says he's offline.
Oh, all right. Well, we got this. Well, Tina, the first comparison my mind draws, and this is a more famous personage within the industry, is with Peter Molyneux,
Yeah, sounds about right.
who I mean, you played many of his games, right?
No, not really. I just know about him.
Okay. Um. Well, I don't know if you've seen interviews or anything like that, but the first thing that strikes me about Molyneux is what a sweet, kind-hearted guy he seems to be. He has these like lofty ambitions for every project he's ever worked on and wants to do a million creative and innovative things with games, but the issue is he and his teams have always had trouble executing on them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't think any of his wrongdoings are because him or his team were greedy, but because they wanted to do something that's so amazing, and then they just could not live up to their own standards.
And the focus, at least from his input, seemed consistently, and still to this day seems to be, big ideas without so much focus on execution.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
hey, here's what we want to put in this game. Here's what's going to set this game apart. Not, okay, team, okay, lead programmers and designers, how do we make this idea a reality? And Molyneux's reputation and his studios as well has suffered for it. Because his games consistently, regardless of whether or not they were high quality, so many of them even to this day are, Goddess aside, fail to meet these lofty expectations that he sets for himself and for his team.
Remind me, which were his most famous games?
Fable, Black and White, Goddess, that's Godus. Oh God, what else? The Fable and Black and White are the two series I immediately go to. Black and White, by the way, the God games for PC, insanely good.
I have just played Fable, I think.
And Fable, at least Fable 1 and 2, are pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Molyneux's contributions. I see a lot of the same kind of mechanical failures when it comes to stories I've read of Chris Roberts' approach to design, with the difference being he doesn't seem to act so frequently, right? Out of just pure ambition, he then goes around and, like, according to some of these allegations, micromanaging the individual teams.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, this one cutscene or this one little aspect of the ship doesn't look right. Go back and do it again. So nothing actually gets done because the leaders keep adding more tasks onto the project without ever allowing the previous or the pre-existing tasks to be resolved. Now, you're a software engineer, Tina. Have you ever had an experience like that with a project?
Yeah, I actually did. And I gotta tell you, 8 out of 10 developers quit the company.
Right. And I assume, like, in this case, leadership wasn't, like, malicious or anything, right?
No, they just wanted to make the best product ever, but the problem is that, by doing that, they did not take care of the developers, and then they were complaining, why is nothing getting done? Well, I really wonder why nothing is getting done.
And what was it like for you as like a worker having to go in and invest in that project, work on that kind of Sisyphean task every day?
I hated my job, and I hated going into work because I knew that no matter what the task is that I have to do that day, I will have to redo it the day after.
Mhm.
And that is an incredibly painful thing to go through, because it's firstly annoying, and secondly it's like your work means jack shit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, you never accomplish anything, and it's
Yeah.
not because you did something wrong, right? You need to go
Yeah.
back and redo it. You're just told, "Hey, Tina, that was great. Let's do it again."
Yeah, exactly. And
And
for what reason? I just don't like it that much anymore.
right, of course. So imagine I can't even imagine what it's like working on a game like Star Citizen then.
Hmm.
Like if you aren't in creative, like if you are, and I'm sure that happens to them too, but
Yeah.
like if you're working on visual design and programming and mapping and all these things, imagine how many times you just had to throw everything out and start over because boss man had a new idea. Um okay, lawsuits. There've been a few.
Now we're
'Cause-
getting to the good stuff.
let me see. I'm seeing several from backers and fans and one from a company. Um So, in 2016, Star Citizen's terms of service were revised, making it considerably harder for backers to obtain refunds because people wanted some refunds.
Oh, really? I wonder why. It can't be because the game was never finished.
But here's the thing. That $1,000+ you spent on maybe a spaceship at some point, eventually, you didn't buy anything. Legally, according to the revised terms of service, terms of service revised in 2018, according to my source, when you pay hundreds of dollars for the spaceship and the game and all this other stuff that apparently is going to make it for you, you don't actually purchase or own anything.
So it's basically a donation, and you cannot refund
Oh,
the
no.
donation.
No, no, no. This is a direct quote from the terms of service. You do not purchase anything. You make a pledge towards the development of the game and other Roberts Space Industry services. It's that
Uh,
last bit that really sets the hairs of the back of my neck on end. You're giving it to the
uh,
game, but also anything else that we decide to make. And go ahead. I understand that for a crowdfunding project like this, it's important to be as clear and as simultaneously as open-ended with your projections and legal expressions thereof when engaging with the public. Like I get there is a good faith way of reading this. It may be, oh, we might not need all the money for Star Citizen. You probably don't. But some of it is going to go towards other content, or it's going to go towards like add-ons for the campaign or whatever. I get that. But telling people you don't own anything, you're giving us a donation, we can do whatever we want with it as long as we say it's for the good of the company. That's really, really, yeah.
that's not how you. I was gonna say that's not how you talk to your backers. That's not how you treat your backers.
No, let's see. A direct quote from the article, because this is important. This is really important, and it, like, just boils my blood. In 2018, for instance, a backer unsuccessfully tried to sue Star Citizen's publishers for a refund on the basis that unexpected updates to the game, and I guess like its hardware integration or lack thereof, made it difficult for him to continue playing the working version of the project due to his physical disabilities. This was someone, I did research on the lawsuit, this one in particular, who donated, I want to say, over a couple $1,000 to the project.
Holy cow! That guy needs to take better care of his money.
Now, I want
Oh yeah,
I
I'm
want
gonna
to
take care of
say
his money for him.
he sued CGI again, and they settled out of court. So, that's wonderful, and all the best wishes to this individual. But imagine that. Imagine making more money than God and having somebody tell you that I can't play the game I gave you over 2.5 grand for because of an impairment, because of a disability. and being like, "Yeah, no, we're not legally obligated to give you anything.
You
Legally,
don't own anything.
maybe not, but morally, you are absolute scum if you don't
Oh yeah.
refund that relative
Shame
tip."
on you.
Oh, then Crytek sued him.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep, because they used the Cry engine to make
Mm-hmm.
their vague idea of a spaceship.
Can you yeah, fill me in about that?
Let's see.
How it ended up?
So, Crytek, this is my understanding from what I'm reading right here, okay? Crytek licensed their engine, the award-winning, extremely rich and powerful Cry engine, to Cloud Imperium Games for use on the Star Citizen project. And Mate, feel free to fill in details if I get anything wrong here. Um, and all was well until around, I want to say 2016. I think the suit was filed in 2017 because CGI decided to split Star Citizen and Squadron 42 into totally separate games and did not pay for or pursue a second license for the second game. And so you had what was initially one project that a single use license was issued for being split into two, and Robert Space Industries and friends essentially say, well, it was all gonna be a part of the same thing, so really, you gave us the license. Um,
Uh,
and it was suggested, quote from the article again, that the Crytek team had licensed the use of the engine to Star Citizen at a below market rate on the basis of terms that had not been satisfied or were otherwise breached, which I assume means like development guide deadlines and some kind of promotion.
yeah, I think that's fair grounds for a lawsuit.
Oh, that's not it. That's not the whole story. They also sometimes, I think, also 2016, near the end of it, probably. They decided to not go with via the route of CryEngine 3, and they went to use Amazon's Lumberyard.
Yes,
And then Crytek sort of like looking at their own like stuff and Robert Space Industries and CIGs. Apparently, there's line of code that show that it's also partially still running on CryEngine 3.
that's right. That's right. I'm sorry. That as well. There's like not buried elements, but like they just kept using the thing that they had
Sneakily.
effectively relinquished a license for
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
Even though that Amazon's Lumberyard is actually a fork of CryEngine itself, to make
Yeah.
things funnier.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So this whole story, the Star Citizen story, to me, guys, smacks of excessive ambition, but also, and this is just my personal read, so don't take anything I say as gospel. That's good advice in general, audience. Um, don't be like me. Don't make my choices ever.
Don't be
Um,
greedy.
yeah. Um, it doesn't just kind of sting of incompetence, but also, at least from the leadership at CGI, a certain measure of outright malice. Like, we're going to make our theoretical spaceship game. We're going to make it our way. We're going to do whatever the hell we want with your money, which, yes, we are entitled to. And we're going to treat our employees more or less any way that we deem appropriate. Because maybe someday spaceships, and that is a worthy cause. That to me is what's kind of most repugnant about this. There's so many people for whom, whether or not we can like understand what that would be like, Star Citizen represents something of a commercial dream, right? It's the game they want to play, it's the game they want to watch, it's the game they want to make. It's something that people have invested their labor, their minds, and their funds into, as well as other associated resources, in order to make a reality that we can all share and enjoy. And some people, most people at CGI, seem to be laboring to make that dream a reality in good faith, but it sounds like leadership is less concerned with what this project, this crowd-funded project, means to their company as a whole and to the rest of the world because they're so ardently fixated on what the big idea means for them. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I would say that at this point, Star Citizen has been one of the longest running and most legal scams in the world. So basically, when they ask you for more money, just run away and scream like you have a hot potato in your mouth.
Hot potato, nice. But like, they're allegedly a scam, Seth. We don't want to get sued, please.
Hmm.
Yes. No.
Allegedly.
Okay,
But
yes, allegedly.
yeah, but like if you check out a game like Elite Dangerous, for which the development started in 2012, and the game released in 2014 on the PC and
Yeah,
later on the
that sounds about right.
consoles, uh, and Mac, but who cares about that? Uh, and then like it was a pretty basic space sim. You can fly, you can land on stations, and you can do missions. You know, trading, combat, piracy, uh, just bounty hunting, salvaging, mining, a lot of cool stuff.
Simple shit.
Yeah, but still a complex game because it also represents the Milky Way galaxy in a, like 1-to-1. Like
Mhm.
it could literally take you months to get to the other end if you even get there because you might run out of fuel. And then they went out with an update that allows you to land on certain planets and drive around in a little vehicle. And then recently they released an update where for a shit ton of in-game credits, which you can't buy with real money, it's weird, uh, you can buy a huge ass fleet carrier, which is then like your portable space station that you can also like fill up with resources and have other people come there and trade. And
Mhm.
now the next update is gonna have like the ability to land on like a lot of planets and not just drive around a barren empty world, but you'll also be able to walk around. And I think they're adding first person shooter elements,
Oh,
which
nice.
basically, by the time Star Citizen releases, I'm guessing Elite Dangerous is gonna have all of those features and probably more.
Yeah.
For less money.
Not just for less money, like they released it, they have free updates, and they have like little expansion packs. And
And they work pretty closely with the community to gather feedback and develop successive content
oh yeah,
releases,
absolutely.
right?
Uh, Frontier Developments, please sponsor us. Uh, we'll shit on Star Citizen some more for you. But no, it's like I believe that's the right way to make a game like that. Like if they had went and just built like a bare bones game and released it, and like here, this is what we promised. The stretch goal stuff is gonna come with further updates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be nice, right?
I mean, that's why it's called a stretch goal.
Yeah, like nobody expected that in the first place, so you don't have to come out with it like on launch. But you know, you should probably launch. Yeah.
Eventually. That is the whole point of spaceships. Um, so ultimate predictions then, guys, as we kind of start bringing this to a close. Do you believe Star Citizen will and its campaign will ever see a release? And if so, do you have any hope that they will be quality products?
Can I start?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I believe it will be a pretty great game that my grandchildren will probably enjoy when it's launched.
You're gonna give them good
Yeah,
advice.
sometimes along the same time when Cyberpunk is finished.
Yeah, our grandchildren are gonna have a lot of fun with those two games. Or their grandchildren, I don't know. I'm gonna leave them my code in my will.
That's their sole inheritance.
Yeah.
Take this and see it through.
Yeah, they're gonna be
Yeah.
like, "Ew, what is that? Ew, no."
Disgusting. Grandmother. Ew. Yeah, my comments is basically I honestly don't see it releasing at all. I am kind of assuming that they are going to try to find a way to wiggle out of this project because at this point it's just getting out of hand. What I'm assuming they're doing right now is trying to find a way to get out of it without too many legal repercussions.
Yeah, good luck. Um, I, for what it's worth, I think, given that we already have at least a little tiny scrap of um the universe, right? The complete universe or whatever. Um, I think something is going to release eventually. I'm not confident that all or most of the campaign will see the light of day as currently designed. I'm not confident that most of the universe will. But we're going to see the release of something. And I am not hopeful whatsoever that that something will be of high quality because, well, for over 10 years now, or right around 10 years, Roberts and his team have just been inhaling money without actually producing much more than promotional materials and a couple little demos.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have the need to release it, right? They have the money already.
They have the
So,
pipeline, yeah.
yeah.
And most of what they released, those demos, we forgot to mention, Mate, correct me if I'm wrong, they were in like the first several years of development.
Mm,
Like just rapid fire, one after
kind
the
of,
other.
yeah,
The
like those like test modules for Star
Yeah.
Citizen, yeah.
And then just aside from drip feeding content into these couple of star systems or this one star system, nothing
Pretty much, yeah.
for years and years. So this game, I feel confident declaring is officially in development hell and belongs down there. Um, any final or additional thoughts? Anything you would want us to talk about? Or
Just maybe the, I guess you might call it sort of shady. The fact that they didn't like crowdfund most of their money from Kickstarter. They did it
right?
from their own
Ah,
crowdfunding. They did on their own site.
through PayPal
Um,
for friends
Not
and
sure
family.
what, but I mean, technically, selling ships in game, I'd still consider that crowdfunding,
Mm-hmm.
considering it's not a complete game. But I don't know.
So more scammy scam. Alleged scammy scam.
Yeah. Again, need to put a fine point on this. Everything we've discussed, barring the lawsuits, is alleged. Just to like keep us in the clear. But you can find scores of additional information on this topic online. Frederick Knudsen of Down the Rabbit Hole released a wonderful video documentary of Star Citizen's development several years ago, which was already laden with controversies. And there's, like I said, the Den of Geek article, several articles on Forbes. I want to say, plenty of good, relatively quality journalism that you can access that provides deeper looks into a lot of these individual controversies and developments or lack thereof. Um, yeah, it's sad. It's really sad that so many people believe so strongly in this vision and making the vision a reality, making that joy a reality, while also making more money than God, is less important than satisfying like a personal passion project
Yeah,
for
but
this
also what
belief.
is sad is, you mentioned making more money than God a couple of times, but it's not the people that are working on the game that are
No,
making it. So,
no, that's what I mean. A lot of this is going to the leadership, and the leadership
yeah.
is responsible for not virtually. They're responsible for every single problem we've discussed. It's not the people on the ground. And oh god, if I could, I would donate directly to those people.
Give them food stamps.
No, like just give them money and say, "Hey, look, go take a vacation, please."
Grab yourself a beer, you deserve it.
Yeah, Brady, but if you send them on vacation, then the game's never gonna get finished.
It's never gonna get finished if they go to work. So, um, okay. Anything else?
No?
All right. I believe that'll do it for today, then. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for an episode that kind of straddled the median between serious and silly conversation as we tackle what at first glance is a really hilarious story of mismanagement of a game studio, but oh yeah, but does hide some very serious issues regarding workplace culture and just kind of the overall state of the industry beneath. For that and for the impact it's had on countless people in the community, I think studying Star Citizen in excess of what we've done today is honestly pretty important for anybody who's interested in the course of the gaming industry and community, because it's such an interesting case study. Um, and who knows? Who knows where this project will end up? Who knows what types of beautiful immersive sims that other people's minds will spawn in the future? Who knows where established services like Elite Dangerous and EVE Online are going to go? Except probably a bit more mainstream than Star Citizen, which is still not a thing. But remember that all hope is not necessarily lost for the project, because as Chris Roberts and his team have promised us from day one, maybe, someday, spaceships. And that's a dream worth investing in. Just maybe from other sources. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, I'm Brady, the Overanalyst, joined by Martina, or Seth the Overwitch,
Bye, everyone.
and Mate, or Comrade Potato,
Goodbye, everyone.
saying thank you all so much for joining us, and until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.